name is Pranoti, and I'm the customer service officer with ChildSafe. I've spoken to many of you all and replied to your emails and try to sort out queries and things like that. So that's my role. So the purpose of this webinar is to introduce you to SMO, and also we'll be looking at some features of the people function today. Quick introduction of what is SMO and what is ChildSafe and why we do what we do, and then we'll quickly go on to the we'll look at the website, the site, and we'll go through some features of the people function. These webinars are going to happen every month, and you will get information from them via e-news, and I'll also send in an email to all the administrators like I did earlier. I'll be sharing my screen for the most part during the session, and some rules. If you'd like questions, if you have any questions, if you look to your right hand side, I think you can see a Zoom webinar chat. So I'll be taking in questions from there. With ChildSafe Australia, we've been in this journey of enabling trusted environments for children for over the last since 2007 onwards. Coming to SMO, as you're aware that there are 5 levels of access in the safety management online system, and so what happens is when we set up the site, each site has a site administrator, and then the site administrator adds members into the system. So and there are 5 levels of access in the system. In my brief period that I've been here for 5 months, as I said earlier. I have seen a lot of queries come forth with around creating people and members and coordinator related questions, and that's the reason I thought that for the purpose of this webinar we'll look at the people function, and this particular functions basically around users, around access, around users, and what different levels of users in the system can do. This level of access is from team member, and then you have team leaders, we have coordinators, we have risk management officers, that is an RMO, and we have administrators. So that's how the people function works. This is the most I'd like to spend some time here because in my opinion, understanding this particular structure would be one of the main points and one of the main trouble areas would kind of get sorted if we look at this particular feature. So when you look at your site, now each site has a site administrator. You may or may not have divisions or groups, and I'll come to that. But every division would have an RMO, every group would have a coordinator, and every team would have a team leader, and the team would have a team leader and team member. So typically when we add people in the system, when we add members in the system and we give them access levels, they're probably in these 5 different categories or 4 different categories. They would be an RMO, they would be a coordinator, they would be a team leader, and they would be a team member. And of course, one person can wear one or many hats in the organization, and that's perfectly fine where SMO is concerned, because we do understand that sometimes each person is doing different things in the organization, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, so this is a crux of the people function in SMO. Every site to have a site admin. If we are creating a division, then we have an RMO, or vice versa. If we've created an RMO, then we assign a division. If we've created a group, we assign a coordinator. Or if we've made someone a coordinator, then we assign a group to him. If we have teams, then we have a team leader for the group. Or if we've promoted someone to a position of a team leader, then we have a team for him to manage, and team member would as we said earlier, would have the lowest level of access in the system. So this is a screen that we are all familiar with. And so when anyone logs into the system, there is the screen would be their main screen, and they would get different. The writing here would be different based on the role that they have within the system. They would also have a quick snapshot of their programs, of their people, and of their various actions that they've created in the system. So this is the screen that everyone would be able to see. And as I said, the wording here would obviously vary, and what they can do and not do within the system would also vary according to their role in the organization. We are also familiar with this screen, the left-hand side one, which says dashboard, people, programs, training, incident reports, resources, admin. And as I said earlier, for the purpose of the webinars, I'm going to be taking each one of these headings here, and I'll be doing a webinar around them. So the first webinar that we're doing right now is around the people function. So when we go to people, so this is a demo site that we've created, which I use for both site training and I'll be using for the purpose of this webinar. So when we go to people function, you can see this is the way it would look. You can see the members, teams, groups, and you can also see if you've created divisions or groups, then you could see the group or the division that you're working on the left. Now, when it comes to the best answer, there is no right or wrong answer to this. The only answer that I would have would be to create a structure that mirrors the way your organization organizes its programs and activities. So it depends upon how much autonomy you want to give to groups, how much autonomy you want to, and how you basically are structured. So some organizations are structured quite geographically. You could have one site manager as a national site administrator, at the national level, and you would want to give more autonomy to your groups, to your groups, or you would want to give more autonomy to your divisions. Now, a question that I often get asked is, what's the difference between a group and a division? Well, I would say a division is, if you want to create a smaller organization within your site, and you are a big organization geographically. So what I've seen, some good examples that I have seen is that people create divisions based on their territories. So just in case it's an organization operating nationally, but has a big base, say in the northern part of Australia, say Queensland or NT, some of them create like a northern territory or an eastern territory or a southern territory, and that's perfectly fine. Another point to bear in mind is that you want to give more autonomy to your people, and if it is a group, if it is a division I'm using the word group quite universally in this case. If it's where you need to create, want to give more autonomy to your people, or you want to your RMOs, as we said, division would have an RMO, then in that case, it would be better to create a division. And you could have one single risk management officer there. And there are some organizations which are larger and they might have multiple multiple RMOs, multiple risk management officers, and it would be good to create, divisions there too. And so typically the easiest answer probably would be to, it should be such that it would mirror what your organization does. You would want to mirror the SMO site based on how your organization works and functions. Okay, so coming back to SMO now, coming back to the system per se, you can see members, teams, and groups. If you're a new organization, you're starting off, you might probably want to create only members first and then allocate them into teams, groups, and divisions. Okay, so one question is, I am listed as an administrator. Does this mean I have 100% access across SMO? Definitely yes. You would have 100% access across all SMO for your organization. So we call it a sub-site, and that, so an administrator is the administrator of a sub-site. So for example, if I am, say, SYZ organization, so my sub-site would be xyz.smo.org.au. Are the terms groups, divisions synonymous? What is different between a group and division? As I hope I have explained it in my little presentation. Yes. So yes, divisions are for bigger organizations, and as I said, it should just, if you want a risk, it's more to do with what kind of structure do you want. Do you want a risk management officer as well in your system? And some, as I said earlier, some organizations are geographically dispersed, and they would want a risk management officer who has almost equal rights as a site administrator. They might then create divisions. But yeah. Can you have more than one RMO per division? Yes, you can. Again, depending on how big your organization is. There are two more questions, but I will take them when we go further. Okay, so I'm going back to the demo page that I was sharing with you. So as we said earlier, this is members, teams, and groups. So when we are starting off, we probably would create members and then we would allocate them into teams and groups. There was a question on I'll just revisit that question again, sorry. Can you move groups from one division to another? Yes, you can, but I think for the most part, it would have to be done in the database. So yes, I'd also like to say that there are some things which you can do in the system, but there are some things which we would be able to, which we as ChildSafe would help you to manage. And moving groups and divisions is one of those things which probably we need to move them across the database, and that's what we help you with. So I'd also like to touch upon some points now on how some things to bear in mind, which when we are setting up people and when we are adding people, or when we are even promoting people. So we'll take one example here. So if you look at, I'm now picking up Sarah Abrahams. She's a team manager. She's a team member in my system. And as I said earlier, for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to be stressing on, I'm going to be working around the organization information part of SMO. So yeah, so when I get a query on, for example, like I get a query saying I've promoted so-and-so person as a team leader, but I've made this person, I've given her team leader access, but when she logs in, she cannot see the team under her. Now, there are two things that need to be taken care of when when we are promoting people from one level to the other, one important part is the access level here. So we make her, so for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to be making Sarah Abrahams I'm going to be making her a team leader. So in order to make her a team leader, I first go to the system and I change her access level and I save it. That's one important part. But when I log in as Sarah Abrahams, I'll probably see team leader, but I might not really see the teams that she's a leader for. And that's because when I go to the team, so I've made Sarah Abraham the team leader. I'm just noting down the teams that she's a part of. She's a part of the Nippers team, Cool Kids team, Jen's team, and Boxel drama, school drama. So she's a team member for all these teams. But which team do we particularly want her to be a team leader for? I want Sarah Abrahams to be a team leader for the Nippers team. So I'll go to teams and I will go to Nippers. But we see that the team leader for Nippers is Mary Josephs. So what would I need to do now is, I would need to go to Nippers team and I would need to go to team leader and change the team leader from Mary Josephs to Sarah Abrahams and save it. So now I have made Sarah Abrahams the team leader for the Nippers team. Let's go back to Sarah Abrahams and see what's happened. So now we know that she is a team leader for Nippers team. She's a team leader. And we made her the team leader for Nippers team. I say, the way I look at it is, we change this level of the person, and then we also we go and look into the system, and we go to that particular team and we change the team leader for that team. So that's one important point to bear in mind. And it comes time and time again. The query comes in time and time again to, I always come up with this query, and I thought, it would be very good to address this, just to help you all to understand how the function works. So basically promoting team members within the system here. Okay, I'll now go back to the demo again. The people function again. So we have teams, we have members, we have teams. We can add teams by clicking on this right-hand side button which says add teams. We can add groups by clicking here. So when the add group function is over here on the right-hand side right-hand side column, the first one, which says add groups. And add divisions is here where you can add divisions. When you look at the left-hand side over here, you can actually you can also navigate. If you're an organization which is very big, which has about 5 different groups or divisions, you can always navigate from one part to the other by clicking on this function here. So on how do we actually edit groups. So, and So with groups, there's another interesting thing that you can look at is you have the groups here, and if you look at the down arrow, you can actually see the various divisions. So some of these are divisions and some of these are groups. A division would probably not be mentioned as a division, but if it's a division, sorry, if it's a group within the division, then you can see East Side Group and you can see the group name. And it says, it also gives you information about the division that that group is a part of. There was a question earlier, can we move groups across divisions? As I said, at the moment, the system doesn't allow you to do that. We would have to do it in the back end, in the database for you. But it is, yeah, but it is quite, it's not a very difficult process. It can be easily done in the database. I have sometimes some of the other questions that come to me, the coordinator for the entire group, and they're not able to see the team. And yeah, so that's because, as I said earlier, the system is very hierarchical, and every coordinator can see information only of the group that he or she is the coordinator for. They won't be able to see information for a group that they are not a coordinator for. And that's one the reason why the system works like that is because we'd like to maintain confidentiality of information within the group. And that's the reason why you may not be able to see information for groups that you're not a part of. One way of going about it is to probably draw. That's what I do sometimes. I just draw like a little org chart in my system on a piece of paper to kind of understand how the group and the system should work for the organization. That would be a good exercise as well. It can be even, you know, a whiteboard exercise where you can get all your team members and your team leaders and group coordinators to that would be a worthwhile exercise as well. Question that's come in: can accidentally created archived divisions be deleted? The system doesn't allow you to delete any information. It allows you to archive information but not delete information. So the reason being so is because we'd like to maintain an audit trail of every activity that is being done in the organization, because yeah, as that's the main purpose, where we'd like to create stronger safety management systems for child safety. So we won't be able to delete anything in the system. We would be able to archive it in the system. What happens when you add a person but only the group option shows and the team option doesn't come up? One of the reasons could be because there are no teams created within the group. There's another question come in which says, can the same archive divisions be reactivated and rebranded? Yes, the divisions can be made active and you can edit the division name. That's the purpose of this webinar, actually, to kind of help you to work more effectively with SMO, to get your mind ticking on what more can you do better with SMO, and how you could use it more efficiently and effectively for yourself and your organization. I'd like to leave you with two things. One, if you have any topics which, you know, as users of SMO, if you have any topics which you'd like me to address in the forthcoming webinars, please send them across as well. So thank you very much for your time, and was lovely having you, and appreciate you coming on board and, you know, helping us to create trusted environments for your children. Thank you, and have a lovely day. Thanks.